Hello and welcome to Conversations with Body and Mind with myself, Nirvana Lange. Body and Mind is your health and wellness online directory. And coming up in today's conversation, I'll be chatting to Dr. Akashni, and she's from Sohum Holistic Living store. She's also a psychologist, an author, a yoga teacher, Reiki Master, firewalk instructor, a mother, a wife, and an entrepreneur. Her motto is grow from within. So, wow. Good morning, Akashni. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to getting to know you. What an amazing person, and what you have to offer. But let's do a little bit of a step back in time and sort of see how this river flowed. What was those stepping stones that brought you to being a psychologist and everything else that you have to offer. So let's do a little bit of a background first as to what happened and what brought you to this and why.
Well, Nirvana, I actually grew up in a home where my parents couldn't afford to send me to university. And so I studied by UNISA, and I kind of somehow fell into psychology. It wasn't something I planned on doing, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. And eventually I went on to do my master's in it. And somehow during my master's here, I realized that I wasn't going to follow the traditional psychology route. I wanted more because I had grown up with, I was very young when my mom developed cancer, and there was a whole host of alternate things that people were bringing to our home, and I was exposed to all of that. And I really found such comfort. I found that my mom had such comfort, knowing that there was not just medicine, but there was so much more that could be offered for her relief of her pain. And so when I was in my master's, I promised myself that I wasn't going to be that scientific person, that I wanted to be a holistic. I wanted to have an holistic approach so that I bring the person's full self into therapy. So when I did my PhD, I did it on alternate versus traditional therapies and how they work together, and how when the individual comes into your room, that they're not just coming for a linear scientific way of looking at a problem. They're bringing their entire full self in there. They're bringing their physical, mental, emotional, and their spiritual self in there. And so for me, having a background in all of that, I decided that I wanted, if not to focus on a particular alternate therapy, but I wanted to be able to understand how all of these therapies work. So I started with Reiki, and Reiki was part of my PhD project.
Wow.
And Reiki worked fantastic because I did it on myself. And then I learned, and I not somebody who's got a Reiki practice, but I wanted to understand how Reiki can fit in with the energy part of the practice.
Mm.
So so then I went on to do yoga because I wanted individuals to understand that if you have trauma and if you have any kind of illness, that movement and energy in the body can actually help to, uh, in conjunction with traditional therapy, can speed up the process. So
Mm.
there's an additional part of it. And then I went on to do all little things after that. But my most recent one was the fire walking, and the firewalking was more of something that I did for me. I wanted to understand what it is that would take me to that next level of understanding fear,
Mm.
because a lot of individuals are suffering with anxiety and they have this intense fear of anything. It's a generalized anxiety. So I wanted to understand for myself what would be the fear that I would overcome. And I always thought that walking on hot coals was something that I would never do. And it was a
Yeah.
journey for me. And that for me made me realize the human spirit is so great that no matter what it is, this is something we can overcome. So all of these things have I put my practice, put it into my practice, and not everything is used, not everything is suited to everybody, but I like to have my toolbox that's full.
you were talking about sort of bringing in together the sort of scientific psychology and the whole spiritual being and bringing those four bodies into it, and it immediately made me think of Rudolf Steiner and Rudolf Steiner's work. Is incredible. I don't
Yes.
know if you know his work.
Yeah.
I also studied with Barbara Ann Brennan, the Hands of Light college, and I did, also that energy healing work. And I know it's amazing stuff
Amazing.
to bring in together. Okay, now we're going to get into Sohum Holistic Living,
Yes.
the store, and then we also then give us a little bit more about you basically, I think, covered the psychology part, but anything you
Yes.
want to add on to that?
No,
Um, so
that is
let's start off with the store and then move on from there.
so. As I was working in therapy, I found that I was guiding individuals into grounding practices, cleansing practices, and I wrote my first book that was on the chakras, and I started to investigate a lot more about more on it. So I started to introduce crystals, um, yeah, crystals, yoga, and energy. So the three things. So individuals say, where can I get this? Or so I was sending them to all different stores and things. And then suddenly I started to keep things in my practice to say, okay, you know what, we got it, we can source it for you and things. So Soham store started off like in my room, and then it just grew because the need became greater, and I started to add more things to introduce a holistic lifestyle. So, for
Mm.
example, you get your salt lamps and the benefits of what the salt lamps would do. Then I would bring in the all the impepo and the sage. And so somehow what happened was that the chakra workbook came into play, and each chapter had a chakra, and it had all the things that you would need to do and the tools you would find that was in Soham store.
Mm.
And that's how Soham became a store without having to actually go and say, I'm starting a store. It just kind of evolved into something that I don't even know how. It's just got its own energy and its own life force. Because now when my patients come in, my clients come in, they have a little store in the front of my reception, and they can just choose whatever they want. No pressure, nothing. And there's bracelets that I source, so everything is there for them that helps them heal holistically. So whatever they need is
And
there. Grounding practices, yeah.
great. And your yoga, where do you teach your yoga classes and
So
at your same premises?
yes, so I have about 15, no, 16 years ago, I bought a building, and where I wanted to have it like a sanctuary for individuals that came in here. I didn't want them feeling like they're coming to a medical center, and I created a space where there's rooms for everything. There's
Mm.
a space where they could come. We do meditation, and so I don't particularly teach yoga because none of these I'm doing as teacher, but I use the yoga practice individually with my patients. So if there's something that we need, then we would go into that yoga room and we would do that. And we would work through that particular process. So it's a very holistic way of working. But
Mm.
this year, from March, we are going to expand the yoga room, and we going to have a yoga teacher that's going to come in. So it would become a little bit more open to the public. But right now, it's just very limited to my patients and those that come in for therapy.
Oh, fantastic. And then your fire walking, obviously I know that's something I would just never do. No. I have
Well,
seen it,
look,
but no.
yeah, yeah. Look, the firewalking, I have a plan for that, possibly at the end of the year, because I run a workshop called the Love Thyself workshop. Because I have a blog on Facebook which is quite popular, and And it's pretty much just everyday things that how you need to take care of yourself. So one of the things that I planned on doing with the firewalk, which is a very small firewalk, but also the ice bath, which is also part of that, sort of more like a fire and ice. And the love thyself, that's going to be the introduction to that. And that's in the pipeline at the moment because, I mean, I'm just recently qualified in August. So because the year has been so quick, everything's moving so fast. So possibly maybe by, yeah, probably maybe by August or so, we might actually, introduce that. And I don't know how that's going to go, to be honest. I'm getting the feel of what people want. They open to the ice bath, but not so open to the fireworks. So I'm going to see how I'm introducing in a very gentle and, gentle way.
And
so that's something to look out for.
yeah, and it's a very organic process, which is the
Yeah.
only way to go. What does Sohum mean?
Soham is a breath.
Ah,
It's like, yeah, it's a breath. That is what it is. Like it's like so it's the inhale and the exhale.
yeah, yeah, perfect, beautiful.
Yeah.
And where is your beautiful premises, and where can people go?
Yes. So I'm situated in 203 Wakesley Road. That's in Bel Air. It's in the Queensborough, Queensborough area, out just on the outskirts.
And it's a sort of very central, close to Pinetown, Malvern, all of those
Yes,
areas. It's a very,
exactly.
very central
It's,
area.
yeah,
Fantastic.
and it's
Mhm.
oh no, I said yeah, it's about 5 minutes from the freeway.
Yes,
Anywhere you're coming from, we
exactly.
5 minutes, yeah, access.
Fantastic. And so how can people get hold of you?
So our office number is 076 694 3661. And Soham has its own phone as well, which is 063 790 7687. And if you want, they can go on to, we've got Soham has its own website as well, which is www.sohumhl.com. And then if you want to get to know me as a psychologist, you can go to www.akashnimaharaj.co.za.
Ah, fantastic. And of course, if you've missed any of those contact details, Akashni is a member on the Body and Mind Health and Wellness Directory, and you can certainly search there for Akashni, and all her details and her page will come up. You can go to bodyandmind.coza or our interactive blog site, which is bodyandmindblog.coza. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share these conversations with those that think that can benefit out of these wonderful people that we have on our Body and Mind website. Thank you very much, Akashni, for your time and the wonderful conversation with you this morning.